Hare Krishna.
Thank you for joining us today. Hopefully everybody had a nice Thanksgiving break.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving is an opportunity to give thanks. When we give thanks, when we have gratitude in the heart, then we find real happiness. Without gratitude in the heart, it is very difficult to achieve this happiness. And we have so many things to be grateful for. So, unfortunately, sometimes it takes a national holiday to remind us of that. But every day we have so many things to be thankful for. We know if somebody is blind and they don't have vision, and then one day a doctor comes and is miraculously able to give them vision. Whole life they've not seen anything, and now all of a sudden, by the work of this great doctor, they can find and see the world. Do you think a day would elapse where that person is not grateful and thankful to that doctor? They would never forget. But we have vision. But we have gratitude, gratefulness to our Creator, Supreme Lord. So sometimes in familiarity, in commonality, we forget to express our gratitude. So this gratitude is a great opportunity, and it heals the heart. Because we have troubles, we have difficulties, but gratitude, we have actually opportunity to be grateful for so many things. And actual gratitude, it is one of the natural conditions of humility. And when we have humility, we learn to be very grateful. We don't take things for granted. Oh, I deserve this. I am owed this. One has, in a very humble position, knows anything we have is a great provision of the Supreme Lord. So we concluded chapter 1, and today we'll be discussing the beginning of chapter 2, the first verse in chapter 2. But in chapter 1, in the second half of chapter 1, Arjuna presented 5 reasons why he should not fight the war. Anybody remember any of the reasons why he should not fight?
Because he's killing his own brothers and his grandfather.
Okay.
So his own relatives he's killing. That's the reason he's having a fear.
Okay, so he's worried about killing his own relatives, yeah?
Teacher.
The teacher. Mm-hmm. And so he says to kill all of them would be, what does he says specifically?
Insane.
Insane, yeah. And he says it would be very sinful, right? It's a dharma. It's against the principles of religion. So he says it would be a great sin. Any other reasons why he says he should not fight? He says these people have done so many bad things to me. But what does a saintly person do? They forgive. So Arjuna says, should I not also forgive? Should I not also forgive these people? Right? And then he says, if we win some battle, we want to enjoy it, right? But what was his concern about enjoying it?
What to enjoy without your near and dear ones.
What is there to enjoy without your loved ones, your near and dear ones? Right? So all the people he would want to enjoy his kingdom with would be lost. So there will be no enjoyment, even winning the kingdom. Then he says that who was assembled on the battlefield, or maybe more important, who was not assembled there? All the great warriors, all the great elders in society, all the governments. So if they're all destroyed, what happens to society? Chaos. Society would go into ruin. And everything would become degraded. Because I don't want to be the cause of such a condition. And then finally he expresses his indecision. So he says it's sinful to kill. It's my nature, I should forgive. I'll not find happiness from the kingdom, having lost all my loved ones. I'll be the cause of destruction of the societal structure, and thus the population will fall into immoral ways. And then 5, he says, I don't know what to do. I'm confused. I'm indecisive. So he's in this position. And who is narrating what's happening on the battlefield?
Sanjay,
To
Dhritarashtra.
So this verse we'll read today is now basically Krishna is going to answer all these questions. And he's going to answer these questions with one fundamental shift in our consciousness. One shift in how we see the world. If we see the world incorrectly, then everything we see thereafter will be wrong. If I have blue colored glasses on, what does everything look like?
It's blue.
But is everything blue? So all the decisions I make after putting these blue colored glasses on, am I making the right decisions?
No.
Even though I may be very intelligently applying my analysis and everything, but because the fundamental perspective I've taken is flawed, everything thereafter becomes tainted by that first decision to put blue colored glasses on. So Arjuna had a type of glasses on when he was looking at this situation. And how was he looking at that situation?
Being a brother, being a family.
With emotional attachment.
To the bodily complexion, right? So he was seeing brother and family. He was attached. But he was attached to the body. And what was he missing?
The souls.
The soul. Actually, where is his attachment? To the body or to the soul?
To soul.
Soul. But he is seeing everything from the perspective of body. So this is like making decisions looking through blue colored glasses. As soon as I look at everything from the perspective I'm the body, then what I think is right is actually going to turn out to be wrong. And what I think is wrong is going to turn out to be right. So the very first instructions Krishna is going to explain is to get the right glasses on. To help us understand that we must look at everything from the perspective I am spirit soul. Right? If I go and make all the decisions in my life from the perspective of what's good for my car that's sitting outside on the street, will I achieve much in life? If all I'm caring to do is to fuel the car, to care for the car, to nurture the car, but I forget to fuel me, I forget to nurture my relationships, I'm just focused on the car, will I find happiness? Fulfillment? Because I'm caring for something that's not me. I have to care for me. So when we care for this body alone, it's like a vehicle. It's a vehicle for the soul. So we have to look to the perspective of the soul. So that'll be the key discussion topic that's going to permeate this chapter 2, particularly the first 25 or 30 verses. Okay? So let's read this first verse now, from chapter 2. It's on page 63, so somebody wants to read the translation?
Sanjaya said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, Madhusudan, Krishna spoke the following words. Purport. Material compassion, lamentation and tears are all signs of ignorance of the real self. Compassion for the eternal soul is self-realization. The word Madhusudan is significant in this verse. Lord Krishna killed the demon Madhu, and now Arjuna wanted Krishna to kill the demon of misunderstanding that had overtaken him in the discharge of his duty. No one knows where compassion should be applied. Compassion for the dress of a drowning man is senseless. A man fallen in the ocean of nescience cannot be saved simply by rescuing his outward dress, the gross material body. One who does not know this and laments for the outward dress is called a Shudra, or one who laments unnecessarily. Arjuna was a Kshatriya and this conduct was not expected from him. Lord Krishna, however, can dissipate the lamentation of the ignorant man, and for this purpose the Bhagavad Gita was sung by him. This chapter instructs us in self-realization by an analytical study of the material body and the spirit soul, as explained by the Supreme Authority, Lord Sri Krishna. This realization is possible when one works without attachment to fruitive results and is situated in the fixed conception of the real self.
Okay. So, what is the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita? According to this purport?
Self-realization.
And what is the result of self-realization? Again, according to the purport?
Start seeing through the spirit soul rather than seeing through the body.
Okay. And what happens when I do that?
Start making right decisions.
Make right decisions. Yeah. What else?
You're detached with the body.
Attached with the body. I am attached to the soul. But what is the result of seeing things that way? Prabhupada writes in this sentence, right? Lord Krishna can do something. What is Lord Krishna able to do? Like in this purport?
He can teach a person who doesn't have knowledge.
He can teach a person who doesn't have knowledge. And with that knowledge, then what can I do? What is the result of that knowledge?
You can kill the inside demon of ours.
Okay, we'll come to that. Kill the inside demon of ours.
Can act without attachments.
Okay, act without attachments. But I want to know then, what is the benefit of all of that? So seeing from the soul, having self-realization, being detached. I need to know the benefits of that, otherwise why I would do it, right? Unless there's a benefit from doing it, then why would I shift my consciousness from one side to the other? Right? So Krishna, Prabhupada writes, the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita is given to the, right? Look at the top of page 64. The very first line. It kind of bleeds from 63, but so end of 63 and top of 64. What does Prabhupada say there?
We should not look for the results. We should do our karma.
Okay, yeah. But again, why? What's the benefit of that? What can Krishna do with this by giving us this knowledge? What can happen?
If we are not ignorant anymore, we start understanding our connection back to Lord Krishna.
Yeah, we can understand our connection back to Lord Krishna.
And our attachment is to the soul rather than to the body.
Attachments to the soul and the body, yes.
Or is it the consciousness or self-awareness?
Self-
Taking right decisions or
Yeah, so we can take right decisions by knowing the self-awareness, right? See, because it says here again, Lord Krishna, however, can dissipate the lamentation of the ignorant man. Think just anyone. How many of us want to dissipate all of our lamentations? Anybody wants to be free of lamentation? All of us. Right? So this is the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita. To rid ourselves of all lamentations. Okay? So this is the fundamental. So we should understand every instruction Krishna gives in the Bhagavad Gita, it's for this central purpose. To rid ourselves of lamentations. And the fundamental step is through self-realization, right? So now we discussed this already, but just what does self-realization mean? It's a fancy word, right? But what does self-realization mean? And body, I am
Spirit, soul.
spirit, soul. So someone asks you self-realization, you don't pull out your wallet and say, this is my ID. Because that designation, whatever it is on that driver's license, is that your permanent designation?
Till the body.
Till the body. That is identification of the body. That is not who you are. You are spirit, soul. Is that complete self-realization to know I'm spirit, soul? Right? So I need to know who I am, but what else do I need to know?
Who Lord Krishna
Krishna.
is.
I need to know Krishna. Why? Because I am part and parcel of Krishna. I need to know where I come from. So self-realization is knowing me as spirit, soul, and knowing Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then I need to know one more thing for the third piece of self-realization. What's the third piece? The relationship between me and Krishna. If you have a three-legged stool, if one of the legs is broken and you sit down on a stool, what happens?
Will fall.
It's not working, right? You need all three legs. Like this, you need all three pieces of information. Who am I? Okay, I'm spirit, soul. That's just one leg. If I know who is Krishna, but I don't know me, that's also just one leg. If I know who I am and who is Krishna, but I don't know what is my relationship, am I master or is he master? My servant or is he servant? If I don't know that, then I'm also still left bewildered. So I need to know all three pieces. Who am I? Spirit, soul. Who is God? Krishna. And what is my relationship with Krishna? I am his eternal servant. That is Sanatana Dharma. That is our eternal occupation. We may have temporary occupations as computer this, doctor, lawyer, business, whatever. But those are all temporary. Our eternal occupation is servant. So that's self-realization. Okay? So now we'll go back to the beginning of the purport. Sanjaya makes a reference to Krishna. He calls Krishna by a particular name. What name does he call Krishna?
Madhusudan.
Madhusudan. And what is the significance of this? Why he calls him Madhusudan? What does Madhusudan mean?
Demon. Madhu is a demon.
Demon. And Sudan means
Killed.
killed. So he killed the demon Madhu. Right? So Krishna has many names, and for all of his different pastimes, activities, he has different names. So one of his names is Madhusudan. So why is Sanjaya referring to Krishna as Madhusudan here? What is he trying to indicate to Dhritarashtra?
He's trying to, like, he killed the demon Madhu.
Mm-hmm.
The same way he wants to kill the negative or from
Arjuna.
something like that.
Okay.
Demon of misunderstanding. So the same way, kill my misunderstandings about myself too. So
Yes. So when we have doubts about anything, it leads us to inaction. Right? If the doubts become so extreme, we become completely incapable. Right? If we walk to the edge of a pool and everybody's enjoying, but I have doubt whether I can swim, do I jump in? But if I become free from my doubts, then I'm able to enjoy. If I see a nice assortment of very nice looking foods, but I have doubt who has made this and is it made properly, can I enjoy it? What if I become friend? No, it's all been offered to Radha Kunj Vihari. It's been so nicely blessed. You enjoy it. Then I can enjoy. So these doubts ultimately become the barrier between us and our real understanding and real happiness. So Krishna is going to kill the demons of doubt for Arjuna. So Arjuna is going to have very perfect and clear vision of what to do and also what not to do. Both are equally important. And when Arjuna has conviction of what to do, how do we think he'll fight? Fearlessly. With full enthusiasm. Because he's not holding back at all. Right? When we have doubt in something, we might give 50% effort. Because we're still not 100% sure. Right? When we say, come to the temple and see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We have some doubt. Is Krishna really there? So we might come, might not come, we might have some obstacles. But if we really had full faith Krishna was there, would we actually ever leave? So we are increasing the knowledge, removing some of the doubts. So doubts become a hindrance. So how do you think Dhritarashtra is feeling now? After hearing that Krishna is going to destroy all of Arjuna's doubts. He's fearful. Because he knows. Arjuna now, once he has full knowledge, he'll have no more lamentation and he'll have full conviction. So Sanjaya is foreshadowing what's happening by very cleverly referring to Krishna as Madhusudan. So like this in Bhagavad Gita, we're going to see very sort of interesting undertones of different things that are being said. Right? Yeah?
So, Madhusudana, so Dhritarashtra doesn't know this particular meaning.
He knows. Yeah, he knows. He knows. And that's why, again, Sanjay is being a little bit political, right? He's not directly saying Krishna is going to destroy the doubts of Arjuna and thus your sons are done. So he's being a little bit, political. Right? But our acharyas have commented that, and Prabhupada writes here that this Madhusudan is significant because Arjuna wants Krishna to kill the demons of his doubts. And so it's very important for us. When we have doubts, what should we do with them? We should clarify. And that is why we'll see almost every other chapter in Bhagavad Gita begins with questions from Arjuna. Bhagavad Gita is not a one-way dialogue. It's Krishna speaking, Arjuna asking questions, speaking like that. It is a back and forth to clear. And then after Krishna has explained everything at the end of Bhagavad Gita, he tells Arjuna, is there anything left? Anything that you have not understood? He was ready to repeat everything. To make sure they had full clarity. No more lingering doubts. So this is our goal. To follow in the footsteps of Arjuna. We must clear our doubts. And then we can move forward with full vigor. Otherwise, I don't know, we'll go half-hearted. So we don't want to go half-hearted. Arjuna was not going to be successful on the battlefield half-heartedly. We are not going to be successful in this battlefield of life half-heartedly. And so Krishna, by answering the call, by speaking this Bhagavad Gita, will come. And of course, we are very, very fortunate that tomorrow is the actual day Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita. Tomorrow is Gita Jayanti, the day in which Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. So it is a very auspicious day for us to celebrate this removing of our doubts, because he spoke simply to dissipate all the lamentations. So in this verse, Arjuna was full of what?
Lamentation, worrying.
He was full of lamentation and worry, but he was also full of confusion,
Misunderstanding.
misunderstanding, anxiety, So those are all the things that he is going to fully, he described at the end of the last chapter, right? But he is also full of one feature that Sanjay is referring to here in this verse. Compassion. He is full of compassion. Right? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Compassion is a good thing, right? So what is the meaning of compassion? Attachment. Okay. What else? What is the let's construct together a full meaning of the word compassion.
Kind.
Kind. Okay, so attachment, kind. Huh? Forgiveness. Yeah. Any other?
Understanding.
Understanding. Understanding what? Let's go a little bit deeper now. So if I have compassion for somebody, what does that mean?
You want them to be safe.
To understand what is the correct, what is
You
the
want them to be safe, yeah?
to understand what is the correct, what is the wrong.
To want them to understand what is right and what is wrong. Typically, who do we show our compassion to?
People we love.
People we love. And people we love when they are in what condition?
Not well or
Not well.
when they need care.
When they need something, right? So compassion is our acknowledgement of someone's suffering, difficulties. But it's not just an acknowledgement, it's also a desire to help them become free from that. Okay? Does that sound like a decent definition for compassion? So we see somebody we suffering, and we have a desire to help them come out from it. Right? So a very, broad-minded, generous person, they have compassion for everyone. They have compassion for all. Right? Not just their friends, not just their family, not just their society members, but for everyone. Not just humans, but all living entities. So that is how many of us want to be compassionate? And how many of us want to be on the receiving end of compassion? Imagine a world that was full of compassion. How nice it would be, right? It's a very sweet quality. But Arjuna has made one fundamental flaw in his compassion. And what is that flaw?
What he did
He is not like he's going out of the dharma. That's Krishna is saying something like, so he doesn't know like this compassion is not suitable here.
So the compassion is not suitable here somehow, right? So the compassion is there, but it's not quite applied correctly, right? And where has Arjuna misapplied this compassion? Because we know compassion is good, right? But where has Arjuna gone awry? Where is he applying his compassion?
So wrong place, wrong people.
Okay, to the wrong place and wrong people. Now let's get even a little bit more specific. So should he not be compassionate to Duryodhana?
As our brother.
So one says no, one says yes. Okay, good. Now we can have some debate. Right? So as a brother, one is saying yes, one is saying no, probably because of all the long list of all the things he's done. Right? So if Arjuna shows compassion to Duryodhana's brother, on what consciousness is that?
Bodily. Bodily.
Because brother is relationship on the
Bodily.
body platform. Right? So Prabhupada makes an example, an analogy in this purport about misdirected compassion. Anybody pull out what analogy Prabhupada uses to show how when we misdirect our compassion, we actually make a major mistake. What analogy does he use?
Material compassion.
Yep. And he compares it to?
Compassion for the dress of a drowning man is senseless.
So what does that mean?
You're
The
worried
man who
about
is
the
already
dress.
doomed.
Huh? Go ahead, Mama.
No, I just you're not supposed to worry about the dress when you're drowning, right?
What are you supposed to worry about?
You should be worried about your life.
About the body.
About the person, right? So if somebody has gone overboard on a boat and you are on the boat, what is your goal in save? What do you want to save?
Person's
Person.
Person? You don't want to save their clothes? Huh? No? They're all the things, right? If I pull out all the clothes, besides having a naked person in the water, but if I pull out the clothes, have I accomplished really anything?
No.
No. I want to direct my compassion to the person and save the person. Right? It's a brilliant analogy Srila Prabhupada is making. So when I direct my compassion to the body, what am I really doing? Am I accomplishing much? Where should my compassion be directed to?
To the soul.
To the soul. Why to the soul?
Because you have to save the soul.
Because that's the person we are trying to save. Right? So Arjuna, when he sees Duryodhana, where should he apply his compassion? To his brother's body or to the spirit soul?
Spirit soul.
So compassion must be applied on the platform of the soul. Then it has real value. There's some value in saving the person's expensive suit who is drowned in the water, but not really, particularly if you forget about the person. So now let's go back to the seminar and recall. What is the underlying, the root cause of my suffering?
Ignorance.
Ignorance. Ignorance leads to what? What types of activities?
Growth.
What else?
Right.
Pride, attachment. And what is the result of activities when I don't have knowledge? Anger, yeah. Do we make good decisions when we're angry? When we're full of pride? When we have illusion? No. So we know what types of actions do we do?
Bad actions.
Bad actions. Bad actions result in
Bad reactions.
bad reactions. Thus, then I suffer. So, what was the instigating cause for my suffering? The initial cause for my suffering?
Ignorance.
Which led to bad actions. If I did good actions, what happens? Good actions. So somebody comes and slaps me. Why I got slapped?
It was a reaction to something bad I did.
That person is not the cause of me being slapped. It's just the immediate cause. But the original cause, I must have slapped somebody previously. So that person comes and slaps me, and then I slap them back. What's going to happen?
Another reaction.
And when does the cycle end? So this is ignorance. Okay? So if I see somebody suffering, why are they suffering?
Because they did some bad actions.
So now I see somebody suffering. Shall I just walk by them? Oh well, you did bad actions, now you get what you deserve? Is that compassion? That's not compassion. That's not knowledge either. Oh, I have knowledge of karma. No. That's not knowledge. That's not knowledge.
But bro,
Compassion?
sometimes
Yeah.
doesn't matter how much compassionate we are. some people are not worth it. Like if you see every day, like they take advantage of you and like see Duryodhana too. Pandavas were so compassionate from the beginning, but Duryodhana ends up giving them more trouble and everything when they were one plus two. Right? So he was not worthy of compassion.
Well, we can maybe let me suggest a modification to that statement and see how you feel about it. Somebody may not be ready to accept our compassion, but who is not worthy of our compassion? Because every person is ultimately part and parcel of Krishna, right? So someone may not be ready to accept our compassion, right? They may reject even our compassion, right? So what a devotee does is find ways to still be compassionate without disturbing that individual. So in the case of Arjuna, if he really had compassion, so Duryodhana did lots of good action or bad action in the past?
Bad action.
So what is coming to him in the future?
Bad.
Lots of it, right? So if Arjuna really has compassion for him, he'll try to do something to stop all that future suffering, right? So Krishna is going to tell him ultimately that if Duryodhana loses his life here on the battlefield, what happens to him?
We'll go back to Godhead.
He goes back to Godhead. And what happens to all that future suffering that is destined for him?
It's gone.
Gone. Now, what is the compassionate action for Arjuna? To not fight him on the battlefield or to fight?
Fight.
On the bodily consciousness, what's the right decision?
Not to
Not
fight.
to fight.
But on the platform of the soul, what is the conclusion?
To fight.
To fight.
Clear or ambiguous?
Clear.
Clear.
100% clear? You see how bodily consciousness leads to the wrong decisions? Bodily consciousness leads to saving the clothes of a drowning person. Self-realization leads to saving the person. So we see somebody suffering, and we say, oh, past karma, tough luck, good luck. So what do? We try to help them, right? So suppose somebody is hungry. They are in want of food. How do I help them?
We have to give the food.
Give them food. But if I give them food, where am I showing my compassion to? Body. So if that person, due to some past actions, is destined to be hungry for 10 days, just making up a number, and I give them food one day, how many days they will have to suffer hunger?
9 days.
10 or 9?
10.
100% 10? Why?
If not today, then tomorrow.
Why?
Because they are destined for that.
That's their karma. By just giving them food, all I'm doing is moving it back one day. It's better than nothing, right? But still, if their karma has forced them to be hungry for 10 days, me giving them a plate of food in reality is saving the clothes of a drowning person. Some marginal benefit, but no real substantive help. So what should I do? Just ignore it? What can I do? How can I show compassion to the soul and the body at the same time? When someone is sitting in front of me hungry.
Give them prashad.
Now what happens when I give them prasadam? What happens?
His karma will be diluted.
Some amount of his karma will be reduced. Why? Because honoring prasadam is devotional service. Devotional service, we know, cleanses the heart it also reduces our karma balance. And oh, by the way, when I feed somebody prasadam, what also happens to their body? It's also nourished. So in addressing the soul, I'm also addressing the needs of the body. When I pull the person out of the water, what comes with the person?
With the clothes.
Clothes. The clothes come with it. Right? So one with intelligence knows where to direct their compassion and then makes decisions accordingly. That is the intelligent use of compassion. So Arjuna is being accused here of having blind compassion. He's compassionate, that is good, but it is misplaced. Compassion for the clothes of a drowning person, we would say, is foolish. So we have to understand how to direct our compassion to the soul. But the bigger, larger point is self-realization. We must see everything through the perspective of I am spirit soul and you are spirit soul. Every living entity, the bird, the beast, the trees, the humans, our neighbor, Democrat, Republican, black, white, green, blue, tall, short, doesn't matter. We are all spirit souls. Whatever we are observing as differences are only on the bodily platform. And if we direct our compassion to our own soul and to all the souls around, then we'll be free of this lamentation. And this is the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. How to bring us to this vision, this realization of I am spirit soul. Now, let me ask, is it easy to understand I am spirit soul and not this body? We know it on one hand, right? We heard this topic, I am not this body, I am spirit soul, in the third, fourth session, and we hear it every session. Sometimes people ask, why do we have to keep hearing the same thing over and over again? Until it registers, we'll keep hearing the same thing over and over again. Because we have for millions of lifetimes been looking at everything through this perspective, I am this body. And now to shift our vision to understand everything on the soul, it takes a little bit of time. A lot of time, but little bit in relation to the totality. Yes, a lot of time might be, a few years, 10 years, 20 years. But in terms of the millions of lifetimes they have lived, relatively short. So Rupa Goswami says, be patient. Be patient. But be determined. Utsahan. Be determined to stop looking at things from the perspective of mind in this body. And in the very beginning, we said Arjuna's condition. What were some of Arjuna's conditions we talked about in the very beginning of this class? What was his mood? Confused. What else? Scared.
Don't want to fight.
Fear. Huh?
Don't want to fight.
Don't want to fight. Do you have stress? Maybe some anxiety? How severe was his anxiety? His knees were shaking. He was perspiring. He dropped his bow that he took a vow he would never let go of. Okay. All because he was saying body, not soul. Anytime we have any fear, anytime we have any anxiety, anytime we have any stress, anytime we have any unhappiness, anytime we have any negative emotion, it is 100% due to bodily consciousness. That's it. If we think back to the last time I had any of these symptoms, and I just analyze that situation, think back now, if I remembered I was spirit soul, how I would respond, you would not have the same emotion. So the symptom of our body conscious, like, right? I need to know what is the symptoms when I'm sick. Okay, I have fever, I have sore throat, I have chills. These are symptoms of some illness. I cannot see the bug in my body, but I can experience it by a symptom, correct? So what is the symptom of my bodily consciousness? It is all these disturbances. Because as soon as I am on the platform of recognizing the soul is Ananda, full of bliss. Full of bliss. So this is our indicator. Ding, 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 ding. I'm upset. Ding, 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 ding. I'm angry. Ding, 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 ding. Right? Next time we get into battle with our spouses, we should ding, 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 ding. I'm not this body, you're not this body. Let's sit down and chant. Then everything becomes resolved.
That would be very helpful.
So my grahastha tip in that regard is simple. Next time you want to do Kurukshetra with spouse, you can do full-heartedly. But before you do, you just sit down and you chant one round of japa and stare at each other and chant one round of japa. Then if you want to do Kurukshetra, you can. And you won't, trust me. No, but it is all in bodily consciousness. So this is the fundamental, foundational instruction that Krishna is giving here. And from the, like I said, once he starts speaking, he'll reply here by giving instructions in a few more verses. 20 verses he's going to speak only about the soul. To hammer into our consciousness. We are spirit, soul. We are not this body. And from that we can make then perfect decisions and have a perfect outcome in this world. That's what Krishna says at the end of his Bhagavad Gita. Brahma bhuta prasanatma na shotati na kankshati. He says, as soon as one realizes I am spirit, prasanatma, fully joyful. Na shotati na kankshati. No more lamentations, no more hankerings. Everything we want is all fulfilled. No more Christmas gift wish list. No more Black Friday disappointments. Everything is what you want. No shotati na kankshati. As soon as Brahma bhuta, then prasana. And sama sarveshu bhuteshu, one becomes the well-wisher of all. Not selfishly, but actually the well-wisher of everybody, the friend of everyone. And then mad bhaktim labate param. Then bhakti can truly begin. So the self-realization is the foundational principle. Okay. Any questions or comments on today's verse?
One quick thing, Prabhuji. I don't know if it's really a logical question. But
Sure, no
it
problem.
just comes to mind. When we show compassion towards someone and we sometimes feel like they're taking us for granted, it happens a lot of times. Are they really taking us for granted, or is that just our mind playing games with us and making us feel like they're taking us for granted?
So, it's a great question because we should understand our motive in that regard. So when I show compassion to somebody, ultimately we should understand, yes, I may have some temporarily bodily relationship with this person, either family, friend, whatever it might be. But ultimately, what is their relationship? It is with Krishna, right? So when I show compassion to somebody, actually, who am I serving ultimately? Krishna. Why? Because I'm helping one of Krishna's children, right? So now, if I show compassion to somebody, and they don't acknowledge my compassion, they take advantage of it, they don't, reciprocate, I should more care. Krishna knows I showed compassion to this person. Krishna is going to reciprocate with us. This person may forget. This person may ignore, but Krishna will not ignore. So I should feel comfortable. Okay, no problem. I'm pleasing Krishna through my compassion. Yes, this person is not giving me. I'll carry on. So when we see in the clear perspective, so now I am not showing compassion to get something back in return from this person. I'm doing it out of my true heart to help one of Krishna's lost children. Right? So then we become tolerant. of imperfect reciprocation, even to the point of maybe negative reciprocation. One is willing to tolerate because they know it's pleasing to Krishna and it is never lost on him. It may be lost on this person, but Krishna will not forget. Sometimes we get really hung up on those interactions. Just take the high road. The high road. It's not. But it's extremely purifying for us. If you want to take the really high road, you show compassion to somebody who's not so kind to you. It is so liberating in the heart because we anchor so many ill feelings and they occupy so much precious real estate in our mind. But actually, when we render service to them, it forces humility upon us. It forces detachment upon us. And those things actually are quite liberating. And we can take great solace that Krishna knows. Krishna is pleased by this action. It's easy to be compassionate to somebody who shows compassion to us. So when Krishna knows we're showing compassion to someone who is not even treating us well, Krishna knows, wow, now my child is really helping. Really. And what do we want to do? Just like parents, when two children are fighting, and parents sees one child takes the high road and says, fine, you can have this toy, I don't want it anymore. Which child is more pleasing to the parent? And that child ultimately wins more. It thinks it lost because I took the high road and gave the toy. But actually, who wins? So similarly, when we give compassion, we are comparing who's winning. That's what we do, right? So instead, just know Krishna is pleased and everything will be. The perfect question, actually. Any other questions or comments?
Just one more if nobody
Yeah.
has.
Please.
So then does that mean that in being in constant state of selflessness is what we need to achieve ultimately?
In what?
Selflessness. Like don't think about yourself, don't be selfish.
Yes, so ultimately that is the platform of pure devotional service. Anyabilashita shunyam jnanakamādināvatam. Anukulena Krishna Anusharanam Bhakti Uttama. That I am only focused on Krishna's happiness. Now, in order to become fully selfless, one has to have faith in something. And what do we have to have faith in?
Krishna.
Because if I'm fully selfless, I have to worry. Who is going to take care of me? What about me? Where will my chapatis come from tomorrow? So, now Krishna is providing for us every step of our life. But to surrender to Krishna, it requires faith that He is my only protector and He is my only source of real happiness. And I am His eternal servant. It takes His humility. Right? So that's the goal of self-realization, is to become fully surrendered to Krishna. Now, there's a practical, sort of self-preservation aspect to it, right? But these are not the norm, right? If we're being attacked and so I have to be selfless. No, we have to remove ourselves from that circumstance, right? These aren't the norms, right? Those are the very rare exceptions. The more common, sort of dynamics are, I'll do for you if you do for me, tit for tat. Right? We do this with Krishna. We go and do some service to Krishna, and then we give him a long laundry list of all the things we want from him. Right? So Krishna says, okay, that's still pious. He says, if you approach me with some desires, at least you're approaching me. And by approaching me, two things will happen. One, I'll give you what you ask that's good for you. When child asks father for something, does father give everything?
No.
When does he give and when does he not give? Simple formula.
Which is good, we will give.
Which is good, he'll give. And when it was not good,
Will not give.
when the shopkeeper comes and will he give to you or not?
Give anything and everything till you are able to pay him.
That's it. If you have full diabetes and you buy 6 ice creams, will he sell you 6 ice creams?
Definitely. If I pay.
If you pay. He's not considering this is not good for you or not, right? So the benefit is, if when, at least when we go to Krishna, Krishna will give what's good for us. So next time we make a prayer to Krishna and we don't get it, we don't say, Krishna, are you really there? No, we should remember, oh, you must have a better plan for me. And the second thing that happens is Krishna purifies us of those desires and blesses us with even higher desires, more valuable desires. So when we say desireless, desireless means trading our lesser material desires for higher spiritual desires. So that is the way it works. Thank you. Next questions. Any other comments or questions? And shall we chant? Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki